There's some more memories, remarkable stuff there, Tim. Did Joe Frazier ever get over that rivalry with Muhammad Ali? Did he ever let it go, so to speak?
No, for a number of reasons, and we spoke about that. Not only the name calling. I mean, Ali before bouts called him an Uncle Tom, which is a sort of reverse racial slur.
This is because he had a white management.
Well, no, he said that. Yeah, he bowed down to the white man, whereas Ali, of course, was this rebel, complete rebel who went to the black Muslims. So he never really got over that. Ali lit the 1996 Olympic flame in Atlanta. When Frazier heard about it, he said, "I'd like to throw him in that flame." Frazier is one half of a whole, the whole that is the Ali Frazier story. And for all Ali's amazing life story, born Cassius Clay, converts to Islam, refuses to go in the army to serve in Vietnam, the glitz, the glamour, and then his illness in later years. Frazier has just an amazingly equal life story, but so very different. He was born in South Carolina to a sharecropper. This is a classic black American story of rags to riches to rags via boxing. One of 12 children. Went to Philadelphia, made his name in boxing, became his adopted city, had 11 children of his own who were scattered across America, and rose through the ranks to become this amazing boxer who though he wasn't as pretty as Ali, had his own things that you just admired him for.
I mean, they went together, didn't they? I mean, one thing's for sure, that with Ali and Frazier around, and others of that era, everyone talked about heavyweight boxing. Nowadays, they can really do with characters like
People that weren't into boxing knew their life stories and all about them. And people who weren't into boxing watched it. And you know, the thrill in Manila and the rumble in the jungle in Zaire was from a time when, even if you didn't follow boxing, you would tune in sometimes at 2 in to watch these amazing creaky satellite images coming in, almost in grey, with the commentary barely listening to him. And it was another era. And it was worldwide fame. I mean, I think Ali is possibly one of the world's greatest ever name recognition people. But Frazier was close up there. The sadness of the Frazier story was, that he never really reconciled with Ali. They did come together towards the end of his life, but never really reconciled. But also, Frazier put his money, and he had millions of dollars, and he put his money into a project, a land project. And the money back from the land project was supposed to keep him, in a decent form of living for the rest of his life. The company went bankrupt. He was sold down the river, and it just stopped. And I only met him once. We're not exactly close person friends, but I was amazed. We went to this just little gym in South Philadelphia, and he lived above the gym. This sweaty old gym. I mean, the history just seeped out of the walls. And that was Joe Frazier in his last days, with a beat-up old car outside, living in a rough neighborhood in South Philly, living in a one-room flat. But everyone that's ever met him says one thing: he was an absolute gentleman, and he never played the big I am. And he was a pleasure to be with.
Well, thanks for those memories, Tim. Well, let's remember him in his prime. Tim Marshall there on Memories of Joe Frazier. Let's discuss more about Joe Frazier. You say they're meeting him there, but I mean, it was both his misfortune. And it was good for him that he was around at the same time as Muhammad Ali, because the rivalry, of course, built up him, Muhammad Ali, and boxing into a huge brand. But of course, he was always going to be overshadowed by the talent of Muhammad Ali.
But what was Ali without him? I mean, people say, what was he without Ali? They were two halves of a whole, and their life stories are both extraordinary. And of course, the world knows Ali's story. They don't know really the Frazier story. And he was a man who transcended sport. And people who are perhaps under, say, 40 probably don't know the impact that heavyweight boxing had right around the world, where people that weren't interested in boxing knew both their names, and their names were those single, Ali, Frazier. You didn't need the Muhammad Ali and the Joe Frazier, it was Ali Frazier, and that's when you know you've transcended something, you become a global figure. They also came obviously out of black America, and they were among the first true great black American heroes who were known right throughout the world as well. And of course, this was the 60s, and they were emerging from segregation. And Frazier's life story was astonishing. Came out of a sharecropper family down in South Carolina, one of 12 children. Moved to Philadelphia, made his name in boxing, was always a gentleman, always polite, The joke was he only gained about 10 pounds over the years, but he lost about several million pounds because he put all his money into a venture. Well, his advisors put his money into a venture. The venture went bust, so did he, and he lived out his last 20 years in a one-room flat above a sweaty gym.
And Tim, looking at him there in his prime boxing against Muhammad Ali, I know you're a man who's thrown a punch or two yourself, always in the ring, it must be said. I mean, how good a boxer was he?
No, I think it's true to say I've taken a punch or two. I haven't thrown very many.
Well, you know a bit about boxing.
I think he was a terrific boxer. I think he was underrated because Ali was not overrated, but Ali was a sort of grace in motion and had the Louisville lip because he was from Louisville. And he said all the things he said. And so people overlooked Frazier's actually sheer energy, ferocity, power, staying power. I mean, I remember Foreman knocked him down 7 times in one fight, and he still got back up. And he was that sort of fighter. And he still, look, I only met the guy once. We spent a day in his gym, and he was just niceness personified, all smiles. And the history sweated out of the walls of that gym. It was an amazing day for us. But he was underrated as a boxer. And all the things that I found him a very intelligent, calm man. Because he had a very thick accent, and because he'd taken a few to the head, he did slur slightly. And I think people thought that he wasn't quite as smart as Ali was. He was as smart as Ali. He was just a much more down-to-earth guy. I mean, Ali milked it for all he's worth. Frazier was this guy from the South who never got away from his past, never wanted to get away from his past. He chose, when he moved into Philly, the area he went into. And he went into one of the toughest areas, and he stayed in one of the toughest areas, and he was one of the toughest guys I've ever met.
OK, Tim, thank you very much indeed. Wonderful memories there of Joe Frazier, and I bet our viewers didn't know that about you. Boxing fan, Tim Marshall there as well, along with his many other talents.